Welcome to another episode of Inspirational Entrepreneurial Stories. My name is Desmond, and for several years I've been working with entrepreneurs, helping them to scale and get past the multi-six-figure and even up to the multi-seven-figure level. Today I have a very special guest. Many of you may resonate with him because he comes from an engineering background. He is not your flashy sales guy. He's actually what most people would describe as quite boring. But that is still very important in the entrepreneurial world. His name is Volodymyr Hlukhovskyi, and he comes from Ukraine. He actually solves a lot of problems in the marketplace, but he wasn't very, let's call it charismatic. He wasn't very people-like, and yet he still struggled with the same struggles that all of you would also struggle. Most of us entrepreneurs like to think that our business is unique, that our challenges are unique, but believe it or not, there is a pattern, there is a common sense that happens with all entrepreneurs. So before we go into all of that, I want you to help me welcome to this episode. His name is Volodymyr Hlukhovskyi. Volodymyr, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Desmond.
Now, Volodymyr, as we get into today's episode, I would like you to first introduce yourself to the viewers. Let them know, where were you born? What was your life like growing up a little bit? And then after that, what made you want to get into business? What was the first time why did you want to get into business, and what did you first set up? Is this your first business, your second business? So kind of take us through that journey.
So I started my life journey as a young little boy in eastern side of Ukraine 22 years ago. So not that quite ago for some people. I was, from the very beginning, I was told that I was slightly different from other people in a way that I was extraordinarily good at solving technical problems, but that came as a lack, a downside of communication. So I wasn't the best communicator throughout my teenage years and going forward. Long story short, 7 years ago, disaster came in my country. We had some military conflict in our place, and that made me move from where I was to actually the capital of Ukraine. And that happened 3 years ago, and that was the first time that I needed to get a real job, because when you're a teenager, of course, you want to spend some time on your hobbies, but now things get serious. Long story short, I did exactly what I loved to do, what I could do the best, which is software engineering.
So you worked at a company first. You worked at a company first as a software engineer. Is that correct? You moved to the capital city, and in the capital city, you got a job. And how long did you work there? Were you happy doing it? When did you decide to start your business?
So yes, I came there and get a job in just a company as just a software engineer, junior software engineer. And in the beginning, I was extremely happy and extremely grateful for all the opportunities that I've got. But I'm the kind of person that always looks for more. I'm always looking to get more of life, to bring more and to get more in return. So I was also kind of person that always did some freelancing gigs on side, whether I'm satisfied with my income or not. I'm always doing this. I want some better life, better conditions. Things start getting stagnating in maybe a year in my career, because as I wanted to expand, I found that my efforts weren't appreciated. And long story short, in 2 years, in 1.5 years into my career, I was rejected when I actually asked for a promotion. The person didn't want to increase my salary for $200 per month, and that was the line in the sand that this has to be changed.
So you were doing your work, you're not feeling fulfilled, you knew that you could do more, you knew you were valued more. When you asked for a raise, you were declined for just $200 a month more. But by the way, just share for the audience who might be watching globally, in the Ukraine, do you mind sharing with us, how much were you making as a software engineer Was it considered good compared to other people in the country for Eastern Europe? Was that a good pay? Were you satisfied with it, or was it very low?
Ukraine is actually now known as the most cost-effective country for hiring developers for a reason. And the first time that I joined the company, I was getting paid $300 per month. That was barely enough for me to rent one room, not apartment, one room, and barely survive with food. I was actually getting into loans. I was borrowing money, and due to my talents, I quickly I was scaled to 1K per month, $1,200. But this when it get stuck, because in order to go above that, in order to go to 4 figures in Ukraine, you actually need like 4 years work experience, like 5 years work experience. You need to basically dedicate your life to working for someone else's success to get basically a couple grand per month. So that's around the average.
Okay, so now I'm assuming that anyone who's watching this episode, they're probably coming from a technical background. They might be an engineer like yourself, software engineer. They might be someone in software IT, probably not, again, like a sales guy or anything like that. For you, when you decided to set up your company, walk us through that journey. Walk us through the systematic process. How did you plan it? Because I don't think you just did it reactionary. I think you probably planned your exit, and then, what were the first things you had to set up? What were the first challenges you had to encounter, and what problems did you have to solve, even for yourself, to set up your company in the first year?
Well, as I mentioned before, it's much easier for me what to do than to my peers, because I was always having income on the side, except for my 9-to-5 job. So I was constantly having some backup just in case. And that moment when I got declined for a raise, that was a moment where I knew that this will happen in a couple months, like one way or another. And I just decided to burn the bridges. So at that time I was doing freelancing gigs. I was actually doing copywriting. I'm bad at copywriting, but I did it for like some minimum wage. And then I started getting like Fiverr gigs. So anyone who's watching probably know Fiverr is a website for some small gigs. And I figured out that I can do some development job on the side. And the moment when I knew that this has some potential, when I was doing around 2 times more money for part-time freelancing than full-time on my regular job, I knew that this definitely has some potential, and I'm open to risking it. By the way, I already was in relationships. So I already had a girlfriend for over a year, and we had some, I would say, other liabilities like animals, like parents, all this stuff. So it was kind of a bit of a stretch. I did risk, but I was confident enough that I deserve more, and this is why I took it.
So then you made your exit. You were doing freelance work. You're already making money first. So I think the common maybe the message here is people that want to try to make everything perfect first, they don't need to. I think you're quite a perfectionist, but even you just went and made money first, get the customers, get the gigs first, and then exit from the company that you were working at. Is that correct?
Yeah, I just know that if you want to make everything perfect, nothing will happen significantly over a short period of time, just because perfectionism is a problem, and it's actually contrary to progress.
Gotcha. And I mean, you're a perfectionist. So anyone who's a perfectionist, pay attention to what Volodymyr has to say. Next question, Volodymyr, is also, when you left the company, what was it like to be on your own? When you have an office even, and some people work from home. You had an office. You decided, were you going to just have a small company, or in your mind you had this vision of building a bigger company? Tell us a bit about that.
So in the beginning, when you start alone, obviously you as a person who doesn't have the vision, you don't know how can it be. Of course, it appears to you like, oh, I will be a small business owner. Yeah, I will keep things small. That's actually not what you should be doing if you are watching this, and if you're in the same case, what you should be planning for is the final stage you want to be. So if in your head you want to be a small business owner forever, so in 30 years you want to be a small business owner, that's totally fine. If you have ambition to scale, you need to put it in your head day one and think of that direction. I started as a freelancer.
Yeah. And as a freelancer, you're not happy as a freelancer. You wanted to scale, right? Your vision was to be what? What was one of the first goals that you wanted to accomplish? The first milestone, let's maybe say the first major milestone you wanted to get to.
Well, one of the first milestones I set for myself, because that time I was looking for mentorship actually. And I've got this shiny goal that I want to scale my business to 10K per month. Then I will get absolute success. I will be number one person in the world. I don't need anything else. And actually at that time I set the goal that once I get into 5 figures per month, I didn't know anything about like expenses. I just wanted 10K. It was like a big number in my head. I get to 10 grand, I'm successful. I don't need anything else. So that was my goal. Did
you have any team, or was it just purely yourself? You were just by yourself?
Just myself.
Okay.
I knew I will need a team because by that time I've got more requests for my job, for my services than I could handle myself. So I knew eventually I will do this, but I had no idea how I will manage this.
Understood. Okay. So now let's talk about mentorship. You mentioned something that's very important here. Not a lot of viewers or people out there think about mentorship. What introduced you? Why did you think mentorship was important? Did you read it in a book somewhere? Did you see someone else? When was the concept of mentorship introduced to you in your life?
I think one of my secret weapons is the curiosity. I'm always looking to how I can make things different, how I can improve. It's not like, okay, I have this, how I can survive. It's always that, what's the next step? How to make it great? And it was pretty basic. As I mentioned, I was doing Fiverr gigs, and I just looked for basically how to make more money on Fiverr. So that's basically. And I found a couple of people that were giving some advice, and some cool advice that actually helped me improve, like some small tweaks. And they had call to action. And this is how I actually joined my first ever mastermind in my whole life.
Okay, so that's another interesting topic. You mentioned the word mastermind as well too. So mentorship is one thing, mastermind is a different thing. Talk about, were there ever any coaches in your life? Did you take any courses? Is there someone teaching you how to set up gigs on Fiverr, or did you have to figure that out yourself? You mentioned mentor and then mastermind. These are some things that most average entrepreneurs don't even think about. They think about building the company themselves. Why was that important to you? And what were the results that happened when you had these mentors or you joined the mastermind? What was the result? So first of all, why did you even think of the concept, and then what was the results after?
Actually, this was once again taught me through the videos on YouTube. It's not about like then at this stage. At this stage, I'm just learning how to use YouTube, basically how to implement this into my work. So I didn't even know then at this stage. So it was a different person. And he was mentioned like, hey, like I have a mastermind, I have a group of like-minded people that grow this together. We have like the blueprints. If you want to join, let's talk, right? So simple call to action.
And what was the investment? What was the investment to join that mastermind? How much did you have to invest to join it?
Investment was $5,000, and I was offered to split this into installments. Now at this stage, I'm earning 15 grand from Fiverr and barely 1K from my job. So that means that very soon I will leave my job. So it will be like $500 for me, my spouse now, and everything else around. So this was basically like a leap of faith. So it's either I go now and I just have to make this work. Otherwise it's over. And I decided to go.
Vladimir, I think a lot of people watching this video as well may also realize it, and they also feel the same thing. There's a leap of faith that, especially when your income is not that big yet, but the importance of the mastermind. Okay, so I mentioned Dan. So for anyone who's watching this, you may know that one of my mentors and someone that I work closely with, even though I run other companies and I own other companies as well, I'm a business owner just like Vladimir, is that we have a mentor named Dan Locke. And Vladimir and I connected, we worked together, and I even held him accountable as a coach, as a mentor, a junior mentor, before I introduced him or handed him off to Dan in the Dragon 100. So we will get to that part of the story as well too. I want to hear about your success since you become a Dragon as well too, Vladimir. And if you can just share with us, how did you discover Dan, around that time there? And then tell us about that journey. What was it like to meet Dan, go through challenges that he had given you, work with me? How did I hold you accountable? Give me the feedback as if you're talking to someone else. Tell them about your story, and then how did you end up becoming a Dragon?
Well, to begin with, I always thought, as you remember, like 10K in my head. I thought that was the hardest part, but this was the easiest part because I got there in a bit under 2 months, really, from this 15 grand to 10K. It was almost instant, and the trick was just charge more money. I figured out that I actually undercharged because of my low self-esteem, and just by tweaking that, I instantly got there. I've actually been to 2 masterminds before I found Dan and found you, and the point where I saw that it's not enough anymore, when I actually saw that people that give me advice generate a bit less revenue than I am. So that gave me advice. Well, that's fine, but I don't want to stay at this level. If I want to learn to grow big, I need to learn from big. I want to learn much greater concepts. And at that time, as I was already looking for business advice, sales advice on YouTube, I found a video of Dan doing some event, like describing his concept about wealth triangle, about sales, about all this stuff. The first thing that I thought is, well, this guy is like big. It's too big for me, right? This like man in red suit talking about millions of dollars, like it's impossible. Like why I'm watching this? I'll never be able to actually get there. And but I still, he was talking really insightful things. So this is how I actually met him on YouTube.
Understood. And then you joined the SMART Challenge. I have another video, by the way, you guys can check it out up here, in which I talk a bit about building a team and avoiding burnout. So Vladimir, tell me about that part, because when we first met, you had gone through the SMART Challenge. You were working, 80 hours a week, which is like double what most people work, 7 days a week. You have a girlfriend, but you had no life. You had a lot of clients coming in. You were having good sales and good cash flow, but not scalable. Tell me about the pains that you had, and when we first encountered, tell the viewers the story about how we met, and what was that, the first 30, 60 days of working together, what was that like?
Yeah, by the time we met with you, just before SMART Challenge, I was at a very dangerous position in my business. Sales were over the roof for my team, because I actually had only 3 developers working at my company, while we had orders and sales for like maybe 15 people. And the big mistake that I've made, and I really want that no one makes it again, is to oversell, overpromise, while you cannot deliver with your capacity. So if you have a team of 3, sell for a team of 3 or maybe for 4 and start hiring immediately. I was hesitant about introducing more people because I wasn't thinking of systems and processes. And if I were to keep like that for maybe a couple more months, it probably would be the end of it, because I would get super upset people at me and overall wouldn't be able to keep up. And of course I was working 100 hours, sometimes 100 hours per week. So basically like no weekends, 16 hours a day, no personal life, on the verge of actually breaking relationships because she tells me like, this is not going to work out. Like she's super understanding, but everyone has its limits. And really, my biggest challenge was I didn't have a proper team, and I wasn't thinking about getting one.
Okay, so you realized those pains, and then you and I connected. Tell the audience, what did we focus on? What was some of the, did I overwhelm you, or did we just kind of focus on 2 or 3 critical things to help you get stabilized? And, did you have clarity where you were going? What was the next step? What do we have to do? Or did I give you too many things to do? What happened there?
So I think you still gave me just a couple of things to focus on, but I had so much things on my mind that I was in a dangerous position to ignore those. So one of the mistakes that people do, I think, at this stage is try to think, oh, I'm already busy. I don't need advice. I just have my things to worry about. But I already had enough trust in you, Desmond, and in the team that you work with. So I knew that I need to take this advice and implement this. And it was dramatic. The effect was dramatic, and I instantly got results. I instantly got a whole different perspective on what I should do next.
Understood. I'm very proud of you as well too, Volodymyr. So then, we put you through some challenges. There's some qualifications for you to become a Dragon 100 member. You got accepted by Dan. What would you say if you were to look back, just 2-3 months ago, the Volodymyr and the business that you had before versus the Volodymyr and the business that you have now? How much, and you're an engineer, so be specific. Give me some numbers if you can, if you know the numbers, not to put you on the spot, but if you can say, even if you can estimate and say it's been a 50% growth, it's been revenue has gone up by 20%, my gross margin has gone up by whatever percent. Give me some numbers for the listeners. I think they're looking for details about what they need to also pay attention to.
So I'm still in the process of scaling my sales. So the sales and the revenue itself didn't go dramatically. I would be looking at probably 20 to 30% overall in 3 months. But what changed is what I do in my company. Because at the time, 3 months ago, I was the doer. I was the one that was screwing the screws. I didn't have time to work on my business because I was so busy working in the business for hundreds of hours per month. And really, it would just be a vicious cycle of me just doing things over and over, just trying to keep the lights on. What changed now is now I have the time, I have the resources, and I have the knowledge to scale what I have now and to be a happier person.
I agree with that. I think, and you're still quite, we call you a baby dragon. You're new in the Dragon 100. You've only been in for I would say a month and a half, and already we are seeing big changes. So what does the vision look like? What's the future look like for Volodymyr? What does it look like for your company? Where do you want to be by the end of 2021 at the time of this recording, or in the next 1 year, 2 years? Where do you want to go with your company? How big has it expanded now that you've been working with Dan or working with me? Has it expanded what is possible? And if it's possible, what would you like to grow and scale?
Oh, absolutely. It expanded dramatically. I now know that only I'm my limitation, only I'm the limitation of what can be done. It's about using proper approach to build relationships with people. And I would say, what I thought was I need to focus on the product, on what I do. I need to focus on technical stuff because people want my technical stuff. What changed in my head is they want my help. They want solutions. They want me to solve their problems. And the problems very rarely lay in actual technical problem. It's more of an emotional problem, the stress that people deal with. And when I can solve people's problem, this is where they are very generous and very thankful for me. And of course, this is the way to go.
Okay, so we're going to wrap up here in just a few minutes, but these are some critical things. So pay attention all the way to the end here if you're watching this. Volodymyr, if you can go back and speak to the younger Volodymyr, even 1 year ago, now that you've seen this journey, and now that you know very precise steps of what to do, how could you make that journey? If you could redo the whole journey again, go back 1 year ago and redo the journey, how could you do it more efficiently? What are some critical steps you would do faster?
Okay, so the number one thing is don't get overwhelmed with progress, because if you do things right, you'll get very fast progress, and sometimes it will feel like it's too much. What should be done at this stage is reinvest in yourself, because before there are like 7 or 8 figures in your bank account, the biggest investment you can make is in yourself. And the second one is you don't need to be a lone wolf. Like there's so much you can do if you find people, like-minded people that have done it, been there, done there. Third thing is don't think of your business as something special. Really, and it might sound like a bit of cliche, but until maybe a couple months from now, I had a very clear, I would say I was even obsessed by the idea in my head that my business is very special, that no one understands me. It's very unique and no one can help me because I'm doing this very specific thing that no one else does. And once you get over it, once you know that it's not about thing, it's about you and how you approach it, then it becomes the new level.
Understood. So if you're now speaking to someone in the audience and they're in a similar situation to you, what would you say to them? What advice would you give them as well too? Is it a mentor? Is it a mastermind? How? Where? You said invest in yourself. What do you mean by invest in yourself?
By investing in yourself, it means to be open to investing in communities that you join and investing in learning. Even if it's some courses. I think I took some course, I don't even remember what specifically, but my point here is the first thing you need to do is not to be afraid to put money into getting a better person, whether it's in business or in other aspects of your life, because you are your most important asset.
Understood. All right, Volodymyr, thank you very much for joining us. And if you've got any questions, comments, you're watching this right now, you'd like to hear more about Volodymyr's story, let me know in the comments below. If you are looking for a mastermind, perhaps you're looking for some mentors, you can always reach out, subscribe. Don't forget, you can also, I'll put some information in the description below, how you can reach out. Perhaps if you'd like to even connect with Volodymyr and find out more about his business. Volodymyr, before we wrap up, if someone is looking for web development like what you do, how can they reach out to you? We can put your information in also in my description of the YouTube channel. But if someone is looking, what is some of the problems that you're solving for your clients right now? Do share about your business. What is it that you can solve? Perhaps someone is looking to get that problem solved, and by watching this video, you might be that solution for them. So go ahead and plug in a bit about your business. What is it that you do to solve people's problems?
So the main thing that we focus in my company, that's called TensionX, is really to take this burden of technical knowledge from people, from entrepreneurs, from visionaries that have this idea about SaaS product, that what they want to get to market, because SaaS industry is now booming and there's expected to be doubled in just a few years from now. And it's a huge opportunity for every person that has an idea. And what the majority struggle with is the technical side, because there are a lot of things you need to know from the technical side to make this work. And we at TensionX, we make sure that you can focus on your idea, on marketing your idea, on delivering the message to the world, while we take care of the complex and boring technical stuff.
Understood. Do you give like a free discovery call consultation to anyone who's interested to find out more about your services? And will you do us a favor as a guest and also as a Dragon member? Would you be kind enough to, anyone that contacts you, would you also be kind enough to share your knowledge with them and help point them in the right direction? Even if they don't work with you, maybe analyze their business and give them some advice. Are you willing to do that?
Exactly, that's what we do. We have now a team we have my assistant, George, that I can connect you with, and they will invest their time in learning a bit more about your problem. And even if it doesn't mean business for us, between you and me, they can always connect you to people from our network to make it work for you.
Understood. All right, Volodymyr, thank you very much for joining. Once again, if you found this video helpful, comment below, ask questions. I'll get Volodymyr to answer in the comments below, and we see you in the next video.